video is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practice-oriented courses for serious music producers.
Hey, Dan Larson here, welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode, and today I want to talk about mastering. It's not really what you think, but in this video I want to show you how I made this little clip this loud. So come with me and be a little patient because we need to talk about a lot of things, but right now let's jump into it. Hey, before we get going, let me tell you that I have an academy for full start to finish master classes on 2.3 Lufs, drum and bass, and any other very cool stuff, even mid-tempo on FM8 heavy basses. And if you want to win one of my courses, drop a comment and a like on this video, and next week I'm going to announce the winner. Okay, so there is a huge misconception about mastering. People think that with mastering you can fix your crap mixing. With mastering you can magically turn your very soft and very powerless and lifeless kick or drum groove into very huge and punchy and crazy drums, or your soft basses into hard basses or stuff like that. And you know, you just put one magic plugin on your mastering chain or on your master and it will just turn into like magic and just a zombie quality mix down. But this is not the case. Mastering is really about the final very simple touch on your finished product. It's very similar to, for example, color correction on your final picture. So let's take this picture, for example, that is the art for my latest Letsynthesize Academy course, the 2.3 masterclass, start to finish. It is awesome, people love it. So with mastering, you can tweak the final warmth, the final tone of your picture or of your song, the same way that I can do here. So for example, let's open a curve and, you know, add a little more tops or subtract a little on the bass. Or what we can still do is, for example, choose the red. That can be, for example, the saturation on the whole chain, on the master. So there are several things that you can do on the master that basically, as you can see, colors the whole picture. And that is very important because with mastering you color the whole picture, so not your drums, not your basses, but everything, the whole thing together. So you cannot really put into your mix. What this means is, if your mix is crap, with mastering you cannot do too much to it. So you can just add a little salt and pepper on your full product. Of course you can still do stuff like this, like selecting one area and, you know, tweak it a little. So as you can see, you can, for example, select on your intro and work on that with color correction, like EQing or saturation and stuff like that, or compression, like with this picture. But this is basically the whole thing again, but only on a small part of your song. So this is mastering, really. Okay, so now let's jump into Ableton and transform the picture editing kind of thing into music. So 2 weeks ago, I made this little clip. It's pretty heavy, it's pretty loud, but you need to understand one thing. It is the sound that you use really makes the loudness. So these drums are really heavy because they are picked well, they are chosen well, because they are punchy, they are heavy, and all the sounds like the kick, the clap, and the hi-hats, like the open hats, really fits well to the basses. And actually this is very important because this is sound design, this is mixing really, or recording, choosing the right sounds or processing them to fit well to your musical surroundings. But if you choose, or if you create, or if you design a bad sound, you can do whatever you want in the process part, it just won't sound well. So let's replace this drum to this drum set. So from this we go to this. And let's see how they sound all together in the mix. So I'm sure that you instantly hear that I can do whatever I want on the master. These drums just won't sound the same. The final mix, the final master, or the final product, your final song, won't sound punchy, won't sound powerful. It will just be sloppy and very weak. So this is actually very important to understand that if you want to have a loud master, you need to find the best drums. You need to process or design the best basses, the best leads. They sound full, they sound really wide and powerful. And actually this is the same with the basses too. So where the screams are very crazy, like very ear-bleeding, and the sub or the 808, in other words, you can call it whatever you want, are very heavy. So let me show it to you. I tried a different type of 808 because on itself it sounds this. And as you can see, what I have here is a simple saw. I distorted it with a noise, and I added an amp with the boost selected and an EQ to the amp. And you can see here the peak. It is on minus 4.8. Let's see another one. It is a little below, so let's add more. So as you can see, the peak volume is almost the same. They are both on minus 4.8, but still the second one, simply because of the processing, sounds a lot louder. Although the peak are the same. So if I use this instead of the previous sub, you can see how louder the sub is, or the bass is really. Although the final loudness or the final peak didn't really change. And again, you can do whatever you want on the master. This issue on the mastering part, you just won't be able to fix it. So as you can see, creating your sounds, choosing your drums, processing them well is essential if you want to have a really loud and really powerful mix down. That, you just won't be able to do that on the mastering part or on the master. But when your mix is done and your song is already sounding really well, it is powerful, it's punchy, you can add a little more on the master to make it sound a little even louder, even more punchy, even more wider or stuff like that. If your mix down sounds bad because you haven't chose your drums wisely, if you haven't processed your basses or any other instruments well, you cannot do really much on the master. But if you did, if you are cool and your song is cool, you can add a tiny bit more on the master to sounding really powerful. So this is why in the master, as you can see, I added a few effects. It sounds like this. We are having a little clip, but it doesn't really matter now. And let's see the overall loudness. So as you can see, it is already really loud. But let's activate the effects and let's see what I would do to make the sound or this little clip a little even heavier and even louder. Let's go one by one. The first thing that I would do is pull back the volume a little. Because as you can see, we are clipping a little. It's not that drastic, and as I can see, we are clipping only a little on the peaks, so only the transients, basically, I would say. But I will still go back a little quieter. I just pulled back the gain with minus 2 decibels, and I want to add a little compression. Now what I would like to do is dial in glue compressor, and you know what, just try to find the best settings, especially with the transient. And I'm pulling back the threshold until I feel that it doesn't pump too heavily, but it decreases the dynamics just a little more. I don't want to go a fully over compressed sound, just adding a little more touch to it. And this is why I pull back the drive at to about 50%. So let me show you to you what happens if I crank it up. So for me, this is simply too much. You can hear that it is pumping on the drums, and I don't really like this effect. Around 50%, I think it is fine. And I want to add an EQ. And again, this is the most important thing about mastering. When you basically, here you are color correcting your final picture. Adding a little more tops, subtracting the muddy mid-bass frequencies, treating the mids, treating the sides, so the stereo information of your song. And you can do it in EQA2, I'm just using EQA to simply add a little more tops and subtract the mid basses that I always do basically to make them sounding fine. Alright, I like this sound and I want to add a little more stereo width. So this is why the ozone imager is here, and you know, I cranked it up a little more, around 50%. So we didn't add too much to the song in level or in loudness, but we were able to treat the clipping basically. So this is the place where I want to add a little more gain with the limiter. Why the limiter? Simply because it just won't crush our sound or final song. So as you can see, with extra 2 decibels, we were able to go to minus 4.8. And the momentary LUFS or the max LUFS is minus 3.9. That is already pretty loud. Now, a little saturation, little analog saturation won't harm us, especially with this crazy loud thing that we put together. So this is why I'm using the saturator with 1 decibel. But when I see the waveform, I see like very strange little fur on the final waveform of the song. And also we have still have some little room here. So what I want to do here is just, you know, shave these little furs here and make it a sausage. So this is where the sausage fattener comes really handy. And basically I just add 1 decibel of gain to the final thing. So as you can see, it's only 1 decibel. And now when I record again the whole thing, you can see that we don't really have clipping, just a tiny bit, but the whole thing is really like a sausage. And if you want to go crazy loud, this thing is your friend. So right now let's check the final loudness in inside. So minus 2.4 is really crazy. Maybe this is not your thing because you sacrifice things here, you sacrifice clarity. And if you want to go really loud, you need to sacrifice some things. And this is exactly where we have to sacrifice the clarity of your song. But with Tear Out, everything is so heavily crunched, everything is so loud, everything is so crazy processed. I think it is not a big issue because for me, the final sound or the final clip sounds powerful, and I don't really have a problem with this little sacrifice on the clarity side of the things. So this is how I master my songs to a really loud level. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check my academy for awesome start to finish courses on Tear Out, dubstep, drum and bass, and very cool other stuff. And see you guys next time. Peace.